don't know, then you must be under 12. This is Joe Coleman from the Platters, and I had the privilege of hearing him sing yesterday, and I thought, oh my, I have got to invite him, and he has agreed to do the national anthem for us, so please everybody, Joe Coleman.
Here we go.
My girl, you know, is going to be after this. There we go. Okay, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Karen Winterling, and I cannot tell you how privileged I am to not only work with two of the most incredible men I have ever met in my life, but to have them both here in the same room. I'm just so excited. If you know, I worked with the Herman Cain campaign, and I can only tell you that there's it's kind of cliche when the wind is taken out of your sails, but it could not be more accurate. When Herman Cain stepped out of the presidential race, the wind was completely out of my sails. And I think I was not the only one who felt that way. Yes, thank you, Patty. And I'm just so honored that he is here tonight. And so, without any further ado, I want to introduce Herman Cain.
First of all, those of you that know Karen, you don't say no to Karen. So, make it easy on yourself. So whenever she asks you to do something or write a check, just do it, save yourself some trouble. I'm delighted to be here. I'm delighted to be here for a number of reasons. Chick is another big supporter of mine. I had a lot of great support in the state of Maryland. I still have a lot of great support in the state of Maryland. And I want you all to know just how much I appreciate all of that support. And for those who may not have heard some of the reports, because some media doesn't report everything, the main reason I got out of the race wasn't because I was tired, wasn't because they would beat me up, is because they would continue to spin these lies in the mainstream media. And when my then 13-year-old granddaughter heard a morning radio talk show host making fun of her papa, that was it. And my wife never said, drop out of the race. That's what a lot of people think. No, she never said, drop out of the race. But every time I would call her at night, I could hear the tears in her voice. That was painful. That was painful. But as the old folk used to say, if you get lemons, turn it into lemonade. And that's why I'm still out here talking, trying to help people like y'all get elected. You know, Chick had some of this stuff. He could be be dangerous. Cain mutiny. $999. Thanks, Chick. Now, you all have been great to me. You really have been great to me, and I do appreciate the support. Let me tell you why we need to elect this man as governor. No. Let me tell you why we need to elect him if and when he declares. In case the FEC is watching. And they are. I remind people on my radio show, I'm on the radio 5 days a week, 120 stations. We have about 4 million listeners a week. And there's so many distractions that the establishment media uses to distract people from the real problems and the lack of results and the lack of solutions. That every day I remind my listeners, don't get distracted with all of the emotional, compassionate stuff. I suggest to them that at the federal level, you only need to focus on one thing right now. 60 to 18. We need 60 senators that will listen to the people and 218 members of Congress that will listen to the people, because right now they ain't listening to the people. And you all know that. And then there's a third component. The states that have the lowest unemployment and the highest economic growth are states that have governors that are conservative Republican governors. That's why we've got to do the same thing in the state of Maryland. That's why I'm here. The facts speak for themselves. But as you know, there are some people in our political circles that they aren't concerned about the facts. They're too caught up in the emotion, the distractions, and the compassion. But it's going to take facts to get this country back on track. It's going to take strong state leadership in order for this country to get back on track. After I got out of the race, I did some soul searching, I did some praying, went away for a while, thought about it, prayed about it. And as God would have it, and like my good friend Armstrong Williams, I ain't scared to say God in my talks.
Amen.
God allowed me to move into some other directions. And when I got out of the race, I didn't expect to be offered a syndicated radio show, 120 stations, 5 days a week. You know, I'm a regular on Fox News because they don't want me over on those other stations, and I don't want to be on those other stations either.
Thank you.
But you know, God opened up some other doors as a result of that. And when people say, well, what is it about being a radio talk show host? It's because it is a lot of work. I'm on 3 hours a day, which means I usually spend 3 hours prepping for it every day. So it is a real job. It is a job. But they said, what is it that you like most about being a radio talk show host? I said, what I like most is every day I get to irritate as many liberals as I can. I get to drive them crazy. That's part of it. I get to irritate them every day. And one of the things that we do on a radio show, I have a call screener, and then I got my executive producer, who's the engineer on the board, and on and on. We got a whole staff of people. I got somebody helping with research. And so Ashley, my call screener, she takes all the calls. And every once in a while she'll say, liberal alert, liberal alert, liberal alert. I said, let's have some fun. Because I happen to believe, folks, that even though this country's on the wrong track, it's not too late to get it back on the right track.
Amen.
I hope you're right.
We may have been dealt a setback, but we've been set back before.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in this room has probably had some setbacks and some hiccups in their lives and in their careers and in their businesses. I have long before I ever ran for office. And so we have to continue to tell people that we can get this country back and get it back on track. And the other thing that I point out to people all the time is, look, we don't have to save everybody who is demented. We only have to save the savable. You see, 51% re-elected the current administration. 49% of us didn't. All we need to do is to swing a few percentage points, and we get that 60 senators that will listen to us, 218 representatives that will listen to us. We have more than that now, but I don't want people to take for granted that it's a sure thing. That has to be our focus, as well as getting more conservative leaders leading our various states. Because with the economy being the biggest challenge that we have, there are three economies that are interrelated. The national economy, the state economy, and the kitchen table economy. So goes national, so goes the states, so goes the states, so goes the kitchen table economies. I know we have a lot of issues and a lot of challenges, but it starts with the economy. That's where it starts. And as you know, the current administration and many of these governors that happen to be of a particular party do not believe in what it takes to generate real economic growth. And the reason that I'm optimistic and the reason that I'm working so hard to try to get people like Charles elected and try and get that majority in the House and the Senate is because last September and October, I did a truth tour where I went to 30 states and over 60 days, and I spoke to business people, business owners, spoke at about 25 or 30 colleges and universities, and I directly spoke to about 2,500 business owners at the business luncheon we would have every day. And every day at the luncheon I would ask the same question. How many of you all in here are business owners or CEOs? Their hand went up. And we would have anywhere from 250 to 300 people there at each one of the luncheons. I said, the next question is, how many of you all have cash and the ability to expand, but you're not doing it because of this current environment? Every hand went up. This economy has pent-up economic growth. It just needs to be unleashed with the right leadership. And that's what we are missing the most.
Yep.
So again, I want to thank Karen, I want to thank Charles and his wife for inviting me, and I want to thank you for being willing to step up, speak up, stand up, because that's what it's going to take. I mean, conservatives, 6 million conservatives stayed home last November.
Yeah.
I was telling that to Norman and some others earlier. 6 million conservatives stayed home. To me, that is inexcusable.
Yep.
And so therein lies part of our opportunity. Therein lies our opportunity. Now let me leave you with this. Somebody said to me they're still bummed out because of last November. I understand, my friend. Someone I said that we can take this country back, somebody said, I hope you can. Well, here's my response to that. If you think you can't, you won't. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win, but think you can, then chances are you won't. Life battles don't always go to the fastest, biggest, the smartest, the richest man, but sooner or later the one who wins, the man or woman who believes he or she can. I believe that we the people are still in charge of this country. Thank you very much.
Herman, thank you very much. I think I've heard Herman speak on many occasions, but I think we would all agree that of all the speeches you've ever made, Herman, this is indeed the most recent. I'm Jerry Cain, and last night Karen asked me if I would introduce our other two speakers. And I was very excited and honored, and you do not say no, Karen. And I go, great, I get to follow Herman Cain and Armstrong Williams. Rather than tell you a lot of things you already know about our next speaker, what I'd like to do is to tell you what his accomplishments really mean. I've been in the media business for 35 years on the editorial and advertising and management side of radio, television, newspapers, and magazines, and I can tell you with authority that the hardest way to communicate in mass media is with a radio show. You only have to use your brain and your mouth. You do not have visual aids, pictures, photographs, or video. You have to know the issues better than anybody else. You have to have a breadth and depth of the issues and argue both sides of the case. Then you're going to get a phone call from somebody who may be an expert, who has thought about that question all day, all week, maybe all their life. And they're going to ask you that question, and you can't respond like a politician. You have to respond and deal with it. If you don't hold the command of that audience for 2 rating books, you are gone. To be able to get to 120 stations like Herman, and our next speaker has been able to do this for 20 years, is an incredible accomplishment. I will point out to you that no liberal has ever been able to do it. They can only have their shows on public stations where ratings as a benchmark of performance do not matter. But I can tell you, having been in radio for 17 years, it is incredibly competitive, and if you don't pull your weight, you are gone. Armstrong Williams has done this for 20 years. He has commanded the attention of people and earned their respect. And he has joined us today to talk about Charles Lawler's campaign. Charles Lawler's campaign to be, excuse me, that's his middle name. His first name is Draft. The Draft Charles Lawler campaign. You know, if I'm able to get Charles and Herman to laugh, my wife may actually respect me. This is the most important campaign in the entire country in 2014. Winning this campaign will not just change Maryland, but it will change the political landscape in the country forever. So without further ado, what I'd like to do is introduce to you a man who has commanded the attention and led political thought in this country for over 20 years. It's a long way from Marion, South Carolina to the Willard Hotel in Washington, D.C. Please give a great round of applause for Armstrong Williams.
Oh boy, I am really tired.
Suck it up.
You know, we really appreciate your coming out. You know, politics is so much theater. You know, people ask you to trust. They tell you when they go to Washington, it's going to be different. They make these promises. Say whatever is necessary to get elected. And they go to Washington and become like everybody else. No change, no progress. And they forget what got them to the position of power in the first place. And one of the most important things that we have in life, whether it's running for office, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a business association, the most important capitalism is trust.
Amen.
And you ask why people are so disenchanted? why people seem so desperate for anybody. It's not, I just look at it when Herman, Cain, and Dr. Carson and others speak, how people are just desperate. It's this is it. They just get so excited. It's not really about the candidates. It just goes to show you just what we've become in terms of the lack of leadership. And we just need somebody to believe in. That somebody's just going to actually go to Washington and not sacrifice their values, not compromise on their principles, and just stand for what they believe in, even if they lose, even if they're outvoted, even if they're defeated. The kind of men we had at the founding of this nation. They didn't care about their riches. They didn't care about their families. They didn't care about their lives. They believed there was a better life for future generations. And what did they do? They sacrificed it all. So how do you know when you show up at these places and they say all the right things and you believe them? Are they exploiting your vulnerabilities? Or what is it so different about these people that ask you for your trust and then ask you for your hard-earned money? And you make an investment. Do you get a return on your money? It goes with raising children. Parents invest so much to raise their children. They do everything they can, but yet outside influences will have their way. The same when politicians go to Washington. Special interest groups and lobbyists will have their way. They will test their resolve on just how deep their values are. And money does corrupt, and it continues to corrupt. It's all about the money. It's all about power. And we forget about the people that make the sacrifices every day to show up here because you so desperately want America to be that shining hill, city on the hill that Ronald Reagan spoke so eloquently about. And you ask yourself, are there any Ronald Reagans in our future? Are there any Margaret Thatchers in our future? Are there? And you pray and you pray and you pray and you think that God is giving you the answer. Many people thought President Obama was the answer. Absolutely. They thought the hand of God was at work. But what they forget sometimes is that the devil's hand can be at work also. Absolutely. All I say to you, talk that talk, but you get a chance to prove just how concrete, how substantive, and how serious you are with your talk. Because if you keep living, time will reveal who you are. And time will find you out. I come here because I really believe in Charles Lawler and his family. I really do, because I would not be here. No. Because listen, it is time out for fun and games. America is at the precipice where if we don't get back to what built this country, principles. I find it amazing, Herman. It's okay if somebody chooses, if they want to marry somebody of the same sex. They have free will. God gives them that free will. You can make that choice. People have the free will to have abortion. That is their free will. God will judge that. But don't ask me to legislate it and make it into a law. Amen. You have a right to live just as well as a right to die. But you should not compromise your principles based on political correctness. Because listen, the Bible tells us, before the word of God fails, heaven and earth shall pass away. And let me tell you, it's passing. And you can see the handwriting on the wall. You can deny it, you can ignore it, but look, the signs are here. And what did he ask in the days of Sodom and Gomorrah? It said 50 good men, 30 good men, 20, 10. If they had problems finding a good man then, and there was not this media and all the exposure to everybody's shortcomings, imagine what we're going to look for today. That's why he said the way is narrow and few will find it. So who are these men? Where is the light in the ocean? Charles Lawler, these people are serious. They need leadership. I hope you can stand up and be accounted for. Because we're here because we believe in it. This is no laughing matter, it's no game. We need leadership. never compromise in leadership, because the great thing about leadership, when morality is at the center, God does the rest. You don't worry about what man does, how much they malign you, whatever they do, because you will win, even when you think you've lost, because the next generation benefits from it. And what we need today, we need moral leadership. Let people do whatever they want in their lives. Let them do it. Because you never know the price that they pay. Everything that looks good does not shine in the darkness. And so I say to you today, out of love of this country and love of this nation, I believe that Charles Lawler is a good man.
Amen.
I believe he's what this country needs. And it's because I know him. Okay? And I believe that his wife is a principled woman. She's a good mother, just like any mother. She has problems with her children, raising like any of us. Nobody is perfect. We're not looking for perfect people. If you look at the Bible, God used imperfect people to do his best works. And we should remember that. There will be flawed people that you will learn things about. But it does not change the fact that they cannot be an instrument for good. And all we want you to do is be an instrument for good. To be an instrument for values. To be an instrument for principles. Nobody expects you to be perfect. But you can be honest with us. I don't think there's ever a reason, our parents taught me, that you should ever have to tell somebody a lie. Because if you have to tell somebody a lie, you don't need to be in that relationship. You should know the truth, and it's the truth that sets us free. And all people want to know is that you're honest, that they can trust you, that they can go to the well with you, that lay it down for you, that give you the hard-earned money as long as you stand firm for them when it matters, when they're cutting those deals in Congress, or cutting those deals in the governor's mansion. Because you know what happens? We always get the short end of the stick. We're being hosed by both parties.
Amen.
Okay? Charles Lawler because he's running as a Republican. That doesn't work for me anymore. I support Charles Lawler because he is a good man. Faithful to his family, faithful to his ideas, faithful to the Constitution, and faithful to his countrymen. What we need is leadership. And if you lead us where you falter, we'll strengthen you. Because the chain is no greater than its weakest link. But we want leadership. We don't want you showing up here, saying what we want to hear, and then you get in the governor's mansion and you become like everybody else. We've had enough of that.
Yep.
People are fed up. I'm fed up with it. Seriously. I'm turned off with politics. You talk about the 6 million Herman? I understand why they didn't vote. Because they're trying to figure out what they're voting for, because the Republicans in many ways look like Democrats. Okay? We need leadership. Not based on some GOP, a DNC, but based on godly principles.
Amen.
With compassion for all. Those that are on welfare, those that are in poverty. People don't love being on welfare. Black people are not the only people on welfare. People are on welfare. It's the behavior that we should get caught up. I could care less about somebody's race. It's their behavior. We need to save this country and stop allowing them to balkanize us as if we're different. We're the same. We may have come here on different boats, but we're all on the same ship now.
Yes.
And we're to sink together or swim together. And I said, let's start swimming with our next governor, Charles Lawler.
I bet you never thought that you didn't come to church in Washington. Both these men honor guests of ours, and one that's still in route, Dr. Carson.
He's on his way.
I know. I want to say that trying to form the words, it always happens to me when he speaks to, when Armstrong speaks. And it was even worse with Dr. Cain speaking. I call him Doctor purposely. I knew him when he was in Georgia, and he was. I was younger, much younger, much younger. And I remember watching him speak at a Republican convention in Georgia. And people would run up to me from Cobb County and say, "You see that guy up there? Do you know Herman Cain?" I said, "Not yet, but I will get to know him." And they say stuff like, "Well, he's
he's who you need to follow. He's going to break through here in Georgia, and his leadership is well worth you following him. And even when I was working for the speaker, I remember doing some things for the speaker to reach out to Herman. He was always, in my opinion, untouchable anyway, only because of the aura that kind of presented itself with him. But first he spoke, and then Armstrong speaks, and every time they do that, I'm very rarely without a loss of words, but I am today in that regards. And I really don't like a whole lot of attention. A lot of folks don't know this about me, but going through college, I didn't want to be a politician. I wanted to be a doctor. I went to Emory University to be a doctor. I wanted to be a cardiologist. I really did. I wanted to go and operate on people and marry a trophy wife, and the rest is history. I have to be honest. I got one attribute right. I got the trophy wife right, but the cardiologist thing, and of course, then when I met her, everything went down the wrong road. I mean, I was really a 3.5, 3.7 GPA student my freshman year, which is almost unheard of for freshmen. And then along comes Rocha my sophomore year, and I became a political scientist. It's your fault. And the gentleman that sang the anthem, my goodness. Now he is going to be, and this is a plug for him. He didn't even ask me to do this, but he's going to be in D.C. What day is that?
April 21st.
April 21st, and where is it?
The Bethesda Blues and Jazz Supper Club.
Bethesda Blues and Jazz Supper Club on the 21st of April.
At 7:30.
At 7:30. My wife intended, my sister, we intend on being there. You think he could sing the Star Spangled Banner? You should have saw him sing yesterday. It's not that he just sings, it's also he's got a little two-step that goes along with it. It's amazing. I am absolutely, without any type of hesitation, humbled by these men and the words they had to say. And we wanted to have a reception that was intimate, that was unique, that had the necessary power players both in and around Maryland. Not so that we could be disclosed or undercover on purpose, but we do realize, and there's a time and a place for everything. And the work that has gone on to put in this draft together, when we found out that Herman, Cain, and Armstrong Williams and Dr. Carson were going to be in the same place at the same time, and they were friends of ours, we thought, what an opportunity to at least have these gentlemen speak and have a few of our close personal friends come by and talk with them. In fact, some of you all actually had family members, if not your own, that were inserted with Dr. Carson. So I'm sure it'd be a treat for you to spend some time with him and his animated, passionate wife about children. We made our way over here this afternoon because we had the Carson Scholarship Foundation reception that took place right there on 26th Street. Thank you. In Washington, D.C., not even 5 miles from here, but when you add Washington traffic to 5 miles, it becomes an hour and a half, as many of you know. But let me get to the meat and potatoes of why we're here, because I do want to make room for Dr. Carson as he's on his way in. We're here because we realize that Maryland can be such a beautiful place, not just environmentally, but economically. It can be such a wonderful place to live. We've just watched the close of this session, and I'm sure you all saw the same tax increases that I saw. They've become so desperate that they've even included a tax increase on rain.
Yeah. Only in there. What's that about?
Welcome to the Free State.
This certainly isn't the forum for us to diagnose. I'm going to diagnose in the soon coming days through things that I'll write and post on Facebook and newsletters I will send out. But what I want to amplify is the fact that Maryland can be everything that we once thought it should be and could be. Maryland can be a place where we raise our families and be able to afford to at the same time. Maryland can be a place where we don't have to sell an organ to put our children through school and pay for gas on the way. We can have a lower tax base. We can have lower sales tax. We can have lower personal income tax. We don't have to be the hardest taxed state in this region if we begin making the right decisions. But many of you all in this room, you're friends of mine, and you're here because you already understand the problem. But what a lot of folks don't see is how we arrived here and why we're here. And this is something that our campaign in this draft, I know it's a joke with my first name being draft. I've never heard that from Jerry before. That one was unique. And I'm sure that bears some explaining, and we'll get around that toward the end. Toward the end of my conversation. But how did we arrive here is something that our draft firmly stands against. We arrived here because for some reason, and this is not the way our founding fathers intended it. This is not the Jeffersonian democracy that Thomas Jefferson envisioned, or Republican democracy, or a democratic republic that Washington envisioned. We have surrounded ourselves with politicians that have decided to find a way to make politics, or to be a politician, a full-time job. That is not the way it was intended to be. In fact, Jefferson said in his memoirs that if you do desire to serve your nation as an elected official, it is a good thing, Larry, but what did he say? You should most expeditiously make your way back to the farm and live under the laws that you passed.
Amen.
If you don't live under the laws that you pass on your citizens, you become tyrannical without even knowing it. And we've created this aristocracy class. We've created this class of politicians, and I get a bit passionate, so I'm going to try to will it down a little bit. We've created this class of politicians that are so used to using their gas card that they have no idea how it impacts us when they raise our gas by 23 cents. This regressive gas tax they just passed, it doesn't just end in 2013, or 2014. It's going to continue through 2017 and beyond, and before it's all said and done, it's going to be 54 cents more in tax than what we pay now. That's why you left, Rory. I understand. Many businessmen and women are leaving. Many people in this room that have not already left are contemplating leaving, and it is no secret that some of the people that are to your left and to your right have already left and live in Virginia, but yet they're here today. Because they still have a hope for Maryland. We can do things differently, and we can convince people with every facet, every ounce of integrity we have in us to say, you know what? Politics is not a full-time job, Steady Warrior. Politics is not a full-time job, Martin O'Malley. What are you doing? Running for president. You're going to be the gift that keeps on giving, because nothing about your administration has been successful. No matter how you spin it. We have the worst tax state in the country. 49. The only state worse than us when it comes to business is New York. Wow. And have you been watching the commercials? Yeah. Even New York has commercials about bringing business to New York. Yeah. Isn't that hilarious? They talk about decreasing their tax base, creating enterprise zones, so businesses and manufacturing jobs can come back to New York. Try us. We're in New York. We're open for business. It's almost hilarious what partner states are doing, because nobody wants to be at the bottom. This time next year, we won't be 49. We'll be 50th. And then you wonder why the strong businessmen and women of our community, like Oliver Carr and so many others, are leaving at the rapid rate and taking their business elsewhere. Try as I could. We could not even save Beretta. And Beretta is right there in Prince George's County, Mel. They're in Prince George's County with over 300 employees. Even the governor, the past governor, some of y'all heard me say this when I talked to Governor Jim, what's Chip's last name? Gilmore. Thank you. You want to see that? She's not just a trophy wife. Governor Gilmore said it best. You know, we're going to have to double the size of the Woodrow Wilson Bridge just to account for the mass exodus of Marylanders that are going to leave from the middle class side of our state because of this thousandaires tax that they just pushed through. They're using social issues to con us, so holding up the Second Amendment in one hand, while at the same time they're rushing through terrible tax policies on the other, and it's only getting worse for us. And in this last step that they just did, which is extremely criminal, is they passed a bill that said to every teacher that whether you're part of a union or not, we're going to take money out of your paycheck in the form of union dues, and there's nothing you can do about it. Oh yes. Oh yes. There's going to be, I'm putting a synopsis out on all of these issues. It is absolutely criminal what's going on in the state of Maryland. Someone was talking to me earlier, wrapping up. You got to hear this part. They were talking to me. They said, you know, what are we going to do? How are you going to convince Prince Georgians to vote for you? And I boldly said, we have Prince Georgians here tonight. And they got so excited. So Mel, make sure you hide. Don't tell them, or you'll be flooded with people voting for you. And Melvin Forbes, by the way, a good friend of mine, conservative Democrat. He's here tonight. That's a testament of people's confidence. As if being a Democrat is a bad word. I never said it was a bad word. Liberalism, now, that might be a little bit different, but I mean, my parents were Democrats for how long? For many years. But we're slowly finding out, and I'm going to go back to this one point and close right here. Is he on his way? 5 minutes? Well, I can't talk for 5 minutes. I can't talk for 5 minutes. I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say.
Joe can do a couple.
Stop. Good point, Brother Al. Make a good point. Whether you're from Prince George's County, whether you're from Montgomery County, whether you're from Baltimore City, whether you're Democrat or Republican, here's what matters the most here in this wonderful state. What matters the most here in our state, as far as I'm concerned across the country, is that we get back to the American principles that our founding fathers saw so dear. And I believe there's going to be almost a revolution, as it were, a re-falling in love with our Constitution. Subtract the past negative, discriminatory aspects of the Constitution. We're all going to see this Constitution as one document for every single citizen, freedom represented, that we can hold on to, one nation under God, following the words of the Declaration of Independence, that we are to pursue happiness, because we have these certain unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and you cannot pursue happiness sitting on your body.
All right, and to keep our money.
In Maryland, we're going to create more jobs. We're going to reach out to the business leaders in our state. We've already done that through Steve Adler, JP Bulldog, and many others. And we're going to say to those companies and corporations outside our state, make Maryland your home. We're going to take that name, Martin O'Malley, off the bottom. We're not going to replace it with another name. We're going to replace it with Innovations for Business. Our state is more than just the name of someone, male or female. Our state, it has to be about attracting businesses, lowering the tax base, creating prosperity, and reintroducing people to the same constitutional values and our same Declaration of Independence values that our founding fathers had. Now, one thing that Armstrong tends to jump on often, and I'm glad he does, is the importance of a moral base. Because it is that important. You all know me. I don't believe in beating people over the head with the Bible. I just don't do that. I don't do that. I do it to my kids. But I have the right to do that because of my daughters. But I don't do that. I honestly believe that if you elect me to be your governor and to serve you in that capacity, you're not electing me to be a priest. You're electing me to be your governor. And there's a very real difference between those two things. My job is to be held accountable for every penny that Melvin Forbes sends to Annapolis. And let me tell you, he sends a lot of pennies to Annapolis. My job is to make sure Dale Kelly gets the best bang for his buck for what he spends and invests in Maryland. My job is to ensure that when you, as a tax-paying citizen, buys gas, buys a product, or the state takes a portion of your money via or as a result of property taxes, that we're doing the right things by them, and if we're not, we should return that money back to you. One of the first things that a lot of our administration is going to do is we're going to pass a real taxpayers' bill of rights. And we'll need your help getting that done, Jared. Your leadership in Anne Arundel County is going to be tremendous. We need people to realize that, for example, with the taxpayers' bill of rights, that your state government should never grow faster than the cost of living.
Yeah.
Or CPI. It shouldn't do that. In fact, and this is what's, let me get back to that in a second. In fact, what's going to happen is, as your dollars grow in your pocketbook, if the CPI only goes up 2 to 3%, and that's 2 to 3% less than you're making this time last year, then there's no way that your state government should go up higher than 2 to 3%. And any penny above or beyond that price should be sent right back to citizens. If we had had a taxpayer's bill of rights passed 7 years ago, we would have sent refund checks home every year for the last 7 years. Instead, what's happened, we went from 29 billion just 7 years ago to 36 billion. And grand total income that the state brings in or spends a year. This year, your state will spend $36.5 billion, of which 9 of it will come from the federal government. which means we run a structural deficit, as far as I'm concerned, every year at almost 27% of our overall budget. I don't have time to struggle and deal and toss and turn and disagree with you about how somebody wants to be married. But I will take odds against anyone trying to redefine the word. But the issue is, how do we become more fiscally solvent today than we were yesterday? To continue to grow our tax base, and continue to make this state one of the best states, not just to do business in, but also to live in. Now, you know what the contrary of that, of my last statement is? How about a government that will elect, not elect, pass a bill that said that a gas tax bill that automatically demands, get this, automatically demands an increase on your gas tax based upon the CPI and cost of living. Which means every year CPI goes up, your gas tax goes up with it. The way they retroactively pass this gas tax, you can't make this up. It goes up every year without a vote, based upon cost of living and CPI. If that is not the most undermined and cruel way of doing things, I don't know what is. We can do things differently in this state. We can do things better in this state. But in my opinion, it not just starts today, but it starts, I would say, Labor Day, when there's going to be a projected announcement for governor in our great state, here in the state of New York. I'm excited for the opportunity. I'll close with this explanation because Dr. Carson's here, and I want to at least provide for him some words of encouragement for you all. He and his wonderful wife are here. But people ask me over and over, why a draft, Charles? Why not just begin campaigning today? Why are you drafting? What in the world are you doing? Well, the short answer is, I'm serving my country. I'm serving every day for you. In fact, I'm going to leave here just once this engagement's over and go right back to the Pentagon for another 12 hours after working 12 hours last night and going to Dr. Carson's reception about 3 hours ago. Little to no sleep. I'm getting used to that. And as a result of the Hatch Act, Rafi, when you're actually a mobilized soldier, Marine, sailor, you're not allowed to campaign. That's why my first name is Draft. If I get caught campaigning, which I'm sure many would love to see us do, it could be bad for our family and for our draft. So for legal reasons, we chose this draft. But don't think for a second that Rosha and I have not thought this through. Don't think for a second that Rosha and I have not prayed this through. And we've taken it, Jerry, very seriously, to the point where we are 99.5% sure, outside of being mobilized, that come the summer and early fall, we're going to announce a candidacy for governor here in the state of New York. And we're going to do so for all the right reasons. Now, Rosa, come here for a second. Somebody said to me, one of the main reasons why they like this campaign and this draft so much is because everywhere I go, for some reason, Rosa's with me. Now, true story. When I ran for Congress, my wife was so busy with the 4 girls that people barely saw them, her or the girls. I'm serious, Oliver. I go around, I give this speech, and I talk about my daughters and my wife and how much they didn't like me. And, you know, with 4 daughters, they throw food at the bottom of the basement and say, you eat when we tell you to. And people began to say, Ann, are you really married? We've never seen her. They really would. I mean, 9 months into the campaign. Are you really married or just saying that? Bryce, I can't make this up. So Rosha decided that if we're going to run for governor, she was going to change this whole perception and let her know that I actually do have a living, breathing wife who can actually pinch and see. Thank you. I bring her up for a reason. More, not just to introduce her, because most of you already know her. But so that when you give, because every one of you are going to write a $1,000 check before you leave here, whether you know it or not. Probably 2. Some of you might even write 10 and put $7,500 on your business. However you want to do it, bothers up to you. But the reason why you're going to invest in Karen's draft is because what you're getting for governorship in 2014 is a gentleman that has a combined over 30 years.